Welcome to episode number 211, where Sarah Tomlinson returns to the podcast to talk about how she works with Yantras and Ayurvedic Astrology. She does a mini sample reading for me, and we talk about the 8 archetypes, the 8 areas of potential. And I also update you on what has been the outcome of chanting the Ganesha mantra since our previous episode 201 and how it has helped me find a new home. So please stay tuned. Welcome to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. I'm your host, Colette, and I hope to educate and empower you to take charge of your health and well-being, preventing disease in the body and mind so that you can thrive in life. I will be sharing the holistic teachings of Ayurveda, which is the ancient healing tradition from India. Now, if you're new to Ayurveda, I recommend listening to the first couple of episodes where I do an introduction to Ayurveda and the mind-body types. And if you like the content, please be sure to subscribe or follow the podcast so the new episodes will automatically download for you. Also, you may want to check out my private Elements community, which is away from social media. It's a safe space for like-minded people to come together, to connect, to share, to support each other, and to continue the conversation from the podcast episodes. Check out the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and just click on the community tab. And I hope to connect with you there. Thanks for listening. And now here's a new episode. Hello and welcome back to the Elements of Ayurveda podcast. Today I'm very happy to welcome back Sarah Tomlinson, who is an internationally acclaimed Yantrika, a Yantra teacher and practitioner. She is also a yoga teacher and artist with renowned fans across the globe, including Elena Brower and Sharon Gannon, co-founder of Jivamukti Yoga. Sarah worked extensively with her mentor, Harish Johari, in India. He initiated her into the spiritual practice of painting yantras. Sarah is the author of Coloring Yantras, also of 9 Designs for Inner Peace, and the creator of Yantra Bliss Oracle Deck. She leads retreats and yantra workshops around the world and enjoys lots of time by the ocean with her husband and 2 young boys. Sarah, it's lovely to have you back. Thanks for joining us again.
Thank you so much, Colette.
I'm looking forward to this conversation because a lot has happened since we last spoke, and it's all pretty exciting. So I just want to kind of catch people up on what we last spoke about. So we recorded, it was back in September, wasn't it, Sarah?
Wow.
September.
Okay, in early September.
Yeah, It was episode number 201, and that was the one on discovering yantras, which was very popular with people. And we talked about how yantras are the geometric symbols containing specific healing energy. And in fact, you were saying that the yantras and mantras used to go together hand in hand, right? And they got separated somewhere along the way.
Yes.
And the practice you said then of coloring yantras is how you work. You work with coloring yantras. And in that episode, you had me choose 3 yantras. And in particular, the one that stood out was the Ganesha yantra, the remover of obstacles. What was the name of that yantra? Do you remember?
Oh, the Ganesha?
Yeah.
Flow.
Okay. And so we discovered during that conversation in episode number 201 that Ganesha was my guy, due to the 3 yantras I chose. And it just so happened that weekend you were recording a class online celebrating Ganesha with Malcolm McQuirter. Is his name, right? And I took part in that. We colored mantras and we colored the one with Ganesha and chanted. And I know you encouraged us to choose a mantra and chant it for 40 days. And I have done that. I didn't do it specific at the time because I think in September I was in Ireland, but I was moving back to France. And so I did that. And, it's been very excited. I started chanting Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha, which was a powerful mantra to Ganesha to remove obstacles. Is that right? And invoke something new?
Yeah. And also at the time you had mentioned looking for a new dwelling place. Yes. So new beginnings and from the ground up. So usually it's to do with making sure the housing and everything you need is provided. So it was interesting that you were looking for somewhere to live, and then you started chanting this mantra, and you were working with the yantra. So then what happened?
Oh, it's very serendipitous. It's great. So I arrived back in France. I was staying in temporary place. And just to recap with people, I had been living in France. Down in the south, and I had left in July 2020 to go home and take care of my parents during a very long lockdown in Ireland. So I was there in Ireland for 10 months during COVID, taking care of my parents. And I had given up my apartment and everything I was renting in France, and because didn't know what was happening. Then after being with my parents 10 months and everyone was, taken care of and free to go, I spent the summer in the States, in the US. And so I've come back to France just mid-September and staying in temporary accommodation. I was like, right, I'm going to focus now on this yantra and chanting to Ganesha. And so I was, kind of putting it out there that I'm looking to my friends, I'm looking for accommodation, something more long-term, and I'm going to be here and staying here. And the apartment I was previously renting, which I adored, the owner had come back. She lives in Boston, Canadian, lived in Boston. She had come back for a visit, and we had met up, we get along very well, and we were, out for dinner and stuff. And she's like, oh, yeah, I'm selling the place. And I thought nothing of it because I was like, okay, I'm not in a position to buy a place right now and so on. And then one day we had seen each other several times. One day she's like, can you come over and help me change the light bulbs? She's an older woman and she would need the light bulbs changed in her bathroom. I was like, sure. So I'm up on a ladder in her place, changing her light bulbs. I'm like, oh, I just love this apartment. I love the light in here. I hadn't been in here since July of 2020. So I was just like overwhelmed with just the beauty of the place and the light in there and everything. And I was like, if I had the money, I would seriously consider buying it, because she was going to sign with the real estate agent the next day to sell it. And she's like, well, why don't you? I was like, oh, I'm not in a position to go through the banks here and get a mortgage. I've been coming and going a lot and da-da-da. And she goes, well, I'm sure we could work something out. And so we have worked something out, and it is amazing. And I must say, so Ganesha was who I was chanting to and involved in this whole process. And in the apartment is this big Ganesha, which you can't lift. Which I don't know how she got it in here. She has this gorgeous collection of artifacts that she's collected in her travels in Asia. But I don't know how you could even lift this thing. I'll put a photo up on my social media of Ganesha here. But Ganesha is right here with me.
That's amazing. Really. It's like, we talk about this as energy and energy in your body and energy that actually becomes tangible when you get to make these changes within through the practice of yantra and mantra, right? It literally shifts your energy so that then your reality becomes something different. So it really is amazing. First of all, it's amazing that you are now able to own your home, right? Through this process. Yeah. That's huge. Yeah. And then second of all, the Ganesha literally is there.
Yeah, it's fantastic, because as well, when we choose a certain line of work in our society, which runs off, credit history in the US or, all this, like, if you don't have a job with a corporation or a secure job, if you're an entrepreneur like me, solo, single woman, it's very hard to secure in our current society, a mortgage and whatnot. So it wasn't on my cards. But then this opportunity arose, and it's an amazing, so hallelujah opportunity. So it's really great. Yeah. So, well, thank you. You were part of that process. And
right. I love that. I love that. Also, it felt really clear at some point early on. You said, I have to go back to France because that's where my home is. Somehow that feeling of home is also something I feel like Ganesha gives you, that, and it's just resonance, right? Once you feel where your home is, then it starts to manifest around you. And I do feel like you had a lot of clarity about that going in when you went back to France.
Yeah. Yes. I didn't worry. I remember saying to you in the last episode, I wasn't worried about finding a place because I know the perfect place will show up. So I wasn't forcing anything. I had rented a couple of places to kind of get a feel for them. I was like, no, this doesn't feel right. And I wasn't stressing. So I wasn't pushing this. And then it was all very serendipitous because she was literally about to sign with the real estate agent the next day. And I just happened to come that day to change the light bulb. And it was just all very, it was all excellent. So it's beautiful. I've had these magical synchronistic situations in my life, and I'm always in awe of them and how they work out. So obviously I didn't question this at all because I'm like, this is the next way forward. This is the next step for me. So it's wonderful. And and in a Vedic astrology reading in the past year, I was told to invest in real estate. I didn't know how I was going to do it, but now it all is coming together. So let's move on to our conversation for today. But I thought that was a pretty exciting story to share from our previous conversation. So today we want to chat about the Yantra Consultations and how you combine in particular the Yantras and Ayurvedic astrology.
Yes.
So tell us a little bit about that. And I know you have your own way of working and your own process.
Yes. So I keep with the yantras. The yantras are the focal point because I somehow understand them so well that that's the language I speak the best. And there's a nice framework, a paradigm in Ayurvedic astrology where you can look at the different areas of someone's life and there's going to be a planetary archetype there. So there'll be a main planetary archetype or energy for your meditation practice. There's one for your relationships. There's one for your work. There's one for your physical health. So it's a very kind of simple system. Ayurvedic astrology is for sure not as complex as Vedic astrology and all the predictive elements. However, I found it to be the most powerful in terms of accuracy and also working with the yantras. There's some synthesis there with the yantras in this system. So what I generally do with my clients is I'll take their birth data and then I'll put it in my computer program, which is specially formulated to work with this form of astrology. So I'll have this basic information, and usually the first session actually is me going through these 8 areas with my client and just sort of so we have the same foundational language as to what their archetypes are. So you and I have not done that. However, I did make up your chart recently. You gave me your birth information. And what I thought we would do is we would see how you're doing because now you're in a new place, right? You have your home, which is amazing. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Really happy. It's really miraculous and amazing. And also it was so natural and effortless. It's perfect.
Yes.
And, when it's right, right? So that's the beauty of your story. And also that you did the practice and you were clear in your intention. And then I wanted to see, what's going to happen now with you in France? Like, what's the next thing? And so what happens is when you choose the yantras, so you're telling our audience that you're choosing the yantras. So what this is I have a web page that has 24 yantras on it. They're also in my yantra deck, right? And so you look at all of them and you see which ones you're most attracted to. And so the ones you're most attracted to are the ones where your energy is already moving in that direction. So we pull them out and we say, okay, let's look at this. Let's see what's going on with you already and can we encourage it to be successful? So before you were drawn to the Ganesha energy, right? That one really jumped out at you because you were already starting to think about where are you going to land and build your home.
Exactly.
So today we're going to start really with the question. We're not today going to go through all your archetypes, but what we'll do is see if in the course of the conversation, any particular area needs like a light shining on it. And then I might talk about the planetary energy that you have in that area.
Okay, great.
Let's see if it's helpful.
Wonderful. So just to explain as well to the audience, you had me pick out 3 more yantras.
Yes.
And
so all 3, not just one for now. We have 3. We may end up with just one like we did last time.
Right. And then those 3 I just chose them yesterday, the day before this recording, and I literally chose them within seconds without overthinking it.
Yeah, which is amazing. They really do speak to you. It's like the volume or the brightness gets turned up on the ones that you're drawn to. Right?
Yes, exactly.
So you were drawn to 3. One is the sun, so that's a planet, and it's a vibrant orange. One is Durga, so that's a goddess of protection and confidence and direction. And that is orange also. So it's interesting. You've got these vibrant colors coming.
Yes.
And then the last one is Bhuvaneshwari. She's the goddess. She's the goddess of creativity. And it's interesting because the sun is also a planet of creativity. So there's a lot of creativity in this mix here. And so first of all, I'm just sort of doing this to share the process because people might be wondering, how do I work with yantras at all, you know? So you're trusting your intuition, you're trusting the choices you made. But then we want to see, okay, so what is going on? And let's have a look and see how this might relate to your chart, okay?
Great.
So right now, the selection you have, we could say, is a creative. It's also to do with creativity. Bhuvaneshwari is called creative play. Durga is this like fierce confidence around moving forward with your passions. And then the sun also is this creative energy, right? So then when I look at your chart here, I'm thinking about two main areas. I'm thinking about where's the sun in your chart. I'm also thinking about this energy of creative play because there's actually an area in the chart called the creative play area. And the creative play area is the part of our life that it's not to do with work so much. It's like, what do we do for fun? What do we do to fill our cup back up, to get inspiration, to create some space, to sort of like when you're playing, you know, you can get these great ideas.
Yeah.
And then when you go back to work, you're all refreshed and you can implement them. So if you work all the time, sometimes we can get stale, right? So this idea is, how do I generate some more fun and enthusiasm and play in my life? So I'm going to look at those two areas right now.
Great.
Okay.
Great.
And it looks like overall, I wanted just to say this, that it's good for you to do things that are a little bit in the vein of being an innovator.
Okay.
Okay, so everything you're doing is not going to be really modeled after anybody else. It's going to really feel like you're doing your own thing and you're bringing something new to people.
Okay.
Okay. So that's an underlying theme for you. It's just a little bit of solitude in that process, right? Because if you're copying everybody else, then it's more to do with the group. Right now, the energy is more you tuning into your own way of doing things.
Yeah, that resonates with me. I think I felt like I've been like that my whole life. I'm swimming
Exactly.
in the opposite direction.
Exactly. And that gives you somewhat of an outsider energy and also at the same time, somewhat of a purifier energy because it's only from being outside different communities and traditions that you can come in and bring in new ideas and new perspectives and a sense of purification.
Okay, great.
So there's a purpose to you feeling like that.
Yeah.
You know? And you may meet other like minds, you know, other people who travel or live in different countries to the ones that they were brought up in or doing things on the fringes of society,
right?
You know?
Right.
So that's sort of like the very background. And then within that, the sun for you is in relationships. So sun in relationships, this isn't to do with long-term relationships. This is to do with relationships like yours and mine, here chatting, or you with your, the lady you're buying your house from, or even the friends in town, or so all your friends or colleagues. And it can also be the energy of dating. And when you have the sun there, it really means you're going to be attracted to working and hanging out with a wide group of people because the sun has this global feeling and integrating. So integrating people from all over the world and integrating people from all walks of life and just when you want to, right? The sun is like the king. So the sun gets to decide when you want to hang out with all these people or not. And it's this very enlivened time for you because if you're drawn to that energy, it's like, okay, maybe after all that lockdown and hiding in my cave, which I know you somewhat liked, some of that, there's also a part of you now that's like, okay, it's time to get out and maybe shine a bit more, you know, and hey, maybe I can, it's not just flirting on dates, but literally flirt with the world, you know, like get to sparkle a little bit more.
Okay, great. Yeah, I definitely feel like I was literally cocooning with my parents in Ireland. So I feel like I was, so I've just been like coming out and, you know, seeing the world again. Yeah. So it's
and think about it, sunny. You're even in a sunny place. So it's interesting. Yeah. And so definitely more of that is happening. And just this feeling of integrating is like, it's not so much solitude, even though we talked about that energy. Now maybe it's finding other people who are also doing something a little bit different, you know, like more like minds.
Yes. I really feel the desire to collaborate with others as well. And, you know, I live in this community, which is, you know, on the Riviera, very international. And I have a great community here because I've lived here over the years, you know, on and off for a long time. So, so it is quite international and people from all walks of life.
Yeah, so that's great. So you get to shine, and you know, it's just when you want to be out and about, and then still you can come home to your beautiful quiet home and shut the door. You know, you can choose when you want to be out there shining, because just like the sun isn't shining 24 hours a day in most places, right? Same with you. You can go out when you're feeling like going out, and then when you feel like being quiet, you can be like the nighttime sun. Right. You know, so there's a nice balance there between in and out. So that's starting to kind of come. And, you know, in its full glory, it's like the peacock with the feathers all out. You know, the sun is really attractive and people want to be in their presence, and it's a glorious energy.
Great.
So that's amazing. And then the second area that we're going to look at, based on what you were drawn to, is Bhuvaneshwari, because that yantra is even called creative play, right? And Bhuvaneshwari is the queen of the universe and the queen of creative play and having fun. So I'm going to talk about the yantra, and then I'm going to talk about that area in your chart, okay?
Great.
So you're talking about community. She literally is the gatherer and the bringer together of community to create something. So but before you can create anything, you need to have one big ingredient, and that is space. Right? If you don't have space, then you can't rearrange the building blocks and create something new. So the goddess is to do with the heart center, the Hridaya. So the goddess's mantra is Hrim, the small sound, Hrim, Hrim, and that's to do with the space at your heart where creativity comes from. And so when I work with Harish, he would always say, put that in the family room or the community room, because that's where people come together to create. So there's the collective. So it's interesting. You're coming into this community, this collective, and this idea of the space is also in the yoga language to do with Maya. Maya is this illusion that everything is fixed and real. But if you pull back a little bit and see the world in terms of building blocks that you can just keep rearranging in any number of ways, then it starts to be more fun, you know? So it's like we're all of a sudden, you know, kids in the art room.
Great.
So this play is, so I guess you could say this moment for you is less about hard, intense work and more about spacious, radiant play, discovery, creativity, which will, because the more you access your creative play energy, the more it actually energizes your career.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Because when your cup is filled up, then you're really, then you'll be radiant and creative with your career choices and projects. And so, and then the other thing that's great about this is that in your chart, this Ayurvedic chart, you have the energy of Mars. So today is very dynamic energy you're drawn to, right? Sun and Mars are the most dynamic of the planetary energies. So you have Mars in your creative play area. And Mars is going to mean that it's fun to do somewhat intense things. It's fun for you, right? So some people might do things that are very mellow, but it's asking you maybe take some risks, maybe do things that are a little, more of a challenge, So it's like if you were scared of surfing, well, guess what? Now's your time to go surfing or things like that. It's like get out there and do things, and not for long term, but just something that gives you a thrill in the short term.
Oh, interesting. It's interesting you say surfing. When I was in California during the summer, back in Encinitas, just visiting, my friend there was surfing a lot. So I was going out surfing with her and trying that out. So that was great. But yes, interesting. I'm back into sea swimming here again, because obviously the Med is like a lake, so it's a lot easier to swim here. And I just got my wetsuit, so that's something. The water is a big part, of my life. So that's that came up when you said creative play and just being in nature and being the elements. And I definitely preach that, that we need this downtime in order for inspiration or intuition to enter.
Good.
But I could have a lot more of it, because my tendency is to really work a lot.
Yeah. And it's nice for you to work, but it might be more efficient for you to work a little less and to play a little more.
Yeah, well, actually, what I was going to start doing was, now that it's, it's darker in the morning, so I can't go swim as early, and it's cooler, obviously, that I'm playing with the thought of taking a break at lunchtime and going swimming at lunchtime when the sun is out, it's a little bit warmer and so on. So that's what and that's a big deal for me, to take a chunk of time in the middle of the day, because normally I would, take a break for lunch, but not much, and then work right through.
Yes, I love it. Plus you're in France and they have the big siesta time. So in a way you can probably make it work.
Yes. Yeah. So that definitely is something I've been thinking about, taking that time out in the middle of the day.
And just to be refreshed and radiant. And so what's the third Yantra card that you were drawn to is the Durga one, and the Durga one very much relates to the energy of Mars. So they're all kind of connected here, it's like having fun with people outside in a more dynamic way.
Great.
So, I mean, at the end, I think you're going to have to look at these. I don't know if you can do it from where you are or not, and sort of narrow down which one.
Yeah, I have them in front of me.
Okay,
I
good.
can do that. I brought it up on screen.
That will be helpful, yes.
Yeah.
Because it's like because you're drawn to all three, let me zero in on the relating. So relating means, like, if you feel, just be more confident in your, shining in front of people and going out and not waiting, oh, maybe I'll see them next time. Like, just go for it, Who knows what's going to happen tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
So taking a little more of a leap in terms of meeting people and connecting with people. And then this, just a little more confidence and enthusiasm around this fun. Okay. And energizing that area. And then that area looks pretty vibrant. That, when I look at the yantras too, I have them in front of me, these three, and that yellow one just looks really vibrant. Like it's really, a lot of lights coming in there with that Bhuvaneshwari. So yes. I'm curious, now that I've given a little bit of somewhat meaning, I guess, of my interpretation to what I'm seeing, if you have a feeling or you're drawn, or one of those seems more to be calling you than any other.
I'm going to take a dramatic pause here before my reply to that question. And I wanted to let you know, because a lot of people have been asking me about the next group discounted Digestive Reset Cleanse. And I just set the date for January 21st, which is crazy. It's only 8 weeks away. So if you're interested in doing the Digestive Reset Cleanse in the start of the new year, you can just check out all the details on my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com. Go to the events tab for the group discounted cleanse, which has the set date of January 21st. And if that date doesn't work for you and you want to do a cleanse, you can book a private cleanse at any point. and choose your own dates. So that's an option. And both cleanses come with a 1-to-1 90-minute online consultation with me so that I can tailor the cleanse to your current needs. It's a holistic cleanse. It's coming with recipes and yoga videos, meditation, pranayama tutorials, self-care practices that are all tailored to you and your lifestyle. So it's a very unique experience in that it's tailored to you. There's no one size fits all in this cleanse. And that's what makes it quite unique and quite special, because I'm making sure that everything is tailored to you and it flows at ease with your lifestyle. So if you're interested in that upcoming group discounted cleanse starting in 8 weeks on January 21st, 2022, just click on the link in the show notes or visit my website, elementshealingandwellbeing.com, and go to the events tab. And again, you'll find the private cleanse where you get to choose your own dates under the programs tab. Okay, let's go back to my conversation with Sarah.
So I'm curious, now that I've given a little bit of somewhat meaning, I guess, of my interpretation to what I'm seeing, if you have a feeling or you're drawn or one of those seems more to be calling you than any other.
This one I would get rid of is the Durga mantra.
Okay.
Durga Yantra, sorry. Yes. And then looking at the other two, I would say I'm more drawn to, the more yellow color, the Bhuvaneshwari.
Yeah.
Yantra.
So Bhuvaneshwari, she has some of that orange in her. See that one layer, but it's not quite as intense, right? So there's a little bit, I think it'll be a little bit more, remember the word is spacious, the spaciousness to be creative, the spaciousness. So right now, just carving that longer lunch hour is creating space. And maybe now that you have time in the morning that you're not going out, you have more space to see what comes, through your other meditation practices. That's what you're going to start creating. It's actually very exciting, because until you create the space, in a way, we don't know what's going to happen. And even in terms of relationships, right now you have a space to invite people over.
Yes, exactly.
So
and in my new space, that color of this yantra, that yellow, it's like a mustard, right? What color would you call that? You're the artist.
It has just a little yellow ochre in it.
Like a turmeric kind of color. That is the color of my countertops in this apartment. And I love them. It's like that turmeric color. So this color is like the kind of the feature color in the apartment I'm in. So that color resonates a lot with me.
Yeah, and sometimes we feel at times, I don't want to suddenly share my space with everybody. I don't want to be out all the time, right? I know you really honor your personal practices and your Ayurvedic practice and your rhythm. The thing is, once you have those, they don't go anywhere and they're always yours. There's just a time when you can do those privately, and then you can just have another part of your life that is more the play and the play and the people, because otherwise it's private and solo, or it's work and people, right?
Yeah.
So now we're trying to find the middle ground here where it can be play and people.
Yes. Yeah. And I am someone who, I like being out and being social, but I'm definitely, I think I've said this before, like an extroverted introvert. Like I do love being by myself and my quiet time. And in fact, I need a quiet time after I've been in a group.
Yeah, you do. So I think you know that, and whoever you're going to be hanging out with will just love and respect that about you too. And, it'll be fun to see the evolution and exactly what Bhuvaneshwari is going to bring. So I wanted to see which one you were really drawn to and then share the mantra.
Great.
So I think this time we'll do we can say Hreem. But also there's a longer mantra, which I will write down and you can publish. But for now, I'm just going to say it. And also have your awareness at the heart center. Shreem, Hreem, Bhuvaneshwari Namaha. So it's like I'm honoring the Shakti and the space where the energy of Bhuvaneshwari resides within me. And then all around me. Remember, she's the queen of the universe. So it's very creative, beautiful energy, So I'm going to chant it a couple of times, okay?
Beautiful. Thank you.
Shrim Hrim Bhuvaneshwari Namaha. Shrim Hrim Bhuvaneshwari Namaha. Shrim Hrim Bhuvaneshwari Namaha.
That's beautiful.
So she's with you now.
Great. I love it. And so when you work with somebody, like you're giving a sample of here with me, Sarah, would you suggest then that I chant this for 40 days like I did with the other one?
Yeah. And what I might do is send you the outline of the yantra.
Ah, yeah.
And then you can color it.
Oh, great.
It's nice if you have your hands in it. I'll send you both.
Mm-hmm.
I can send you a JPEG of the colored so you have it. And these are all from my paintings. And then also I'll send you outlines, and then you can print them and color them, because then you can do the mantras while you're coloring. And so you're really immersing yourself in this yantra till you really start to feel that you've embodied the energy of it, or of her even. And really you're waking up that energy that is within you already, right? It's an aspect of yourself. And it's just like you're turning the light on a little brighter on this heart center in this creative space, and you can have fun. You know, it's hard to have a lot of fun when you're busy wondering where you're going to live, right?
Yeah.
So now that you have that piece settled, you can say that was very first chakra. This is a little more, I know it's the heart, but it's sort of second in that way of creativity, you know? And and what's flowing, you know?
Exactly. Yeah, it is. It's very important to have that foundation, that root chakra, you know, your home base. I have moved, have been very nomadic, and I have moved around a lot. And, you know, since I left this apartment in July 2020, I've been in temporary places, you know, I haven't been in my home. So it does feel really good now that I'll be able to have all my stuff in one place. And be able to unpack it and know that it's there now, and I don't have to, you know, I've been living out of a suitcase for the last year plus. So yeah, it'll be great.
And you can still travel and you can still do your global thing, but you'll have that base, and I think that it's really great. And so yes, and you can also have the yantra out, you know, like once you've colored it, or you can print out one. And then every day you say hi to the yantra. Either you can say the mantra 3 times, just to kind of hi, you know, or if you like doing the mantra with the mala, you can do 108, and you gaze at the yantra, and then at a certain point you close your eyes and you finish doing the mantras, and then you just sit quietly and you feel the energy in your body of that practice.
Oh, beautiful. Yeah, I definitely want to have it in the apartment. The color scheme goes perfectly with the apartment, the color of the yantra. And that, I think it'll be something that'll be beautiful to have there in my, you know, little special place where Ganesha is as well, and all my crystals and so on. So that'll be beautiful. It's beautiful how, you know, it's kind of been a journey that we've seen through the last episode and this episode, where the focus was, okay, I'm really moving a lot. I need to ground and, you know, and find that home base. And now that I have the foundation, it's like, okay, less of that sense of where am I going to land and plant myself, but now I'm planted, I feel rooted. And now that gives me more capacity and more energy to be more creative and to have more play, as you say, more creative play.
Yeah. And to have a sense of, you know, inviting people in, or inviting people to do things, or getting out there, and it's just some of the freedom that's going to come, I think.
Wonderful. That's my favorite word. Is freedom. Yeah, it's exciting, and I love that it shifts on this journey with the yantras, and that it gives you something to focus on, and I think as well setting an intention, which is a beautiful thing, right? Yeah. So with this, setting an intention to have more creative play, which I think is something that I really need, for my health as well as for my creativity.
It's going to be really good for your creativity and your emotional well-being, so because you have this innovator energy, the innovator energy doesn't come from doing the same thing all the time, right? Being an innovator means thinking outside the box and looking at things from different perspectives. And so all of that does require you to step back. So that's one thing that happens when you're playing, right?
Yes, exactly. Wonderful. Well, thank you for that. And it was very exciting to get that reading. And I want to explain to people that when you would do a full consultation with somebody, which you call a Yantra Consultation, correct?
Yes.
Yes. And you're combining the Yantras and the Ayurvedic Astrology. You said that there's 8 archetypes or potentials.
Yes.
You mentioned some already: relationships, physical health, work. What are the others?
Yeah, there's a spiritual one, which is like your main one. If people were going to be recognized by one planet, they would be a Mars person or a Sun person, so there's one main energy, and that's the energy of how you might do your meditation practice, actually. So that's the main one. And then there's one that's your desire energy. That's how you fulfill short-term desires. It's like what makes people get out of bed in the morning, but it's not the same as your main energy. That's an interesting part of the consultation. Yeah, then there's the career, then there's the fun area, like we discussed. Then there's the Dharma. Dharma is why am I here? And that is the area that's very interesting, because it's not exactly career, but it's the thing that makes people feel good about themselves in society. So self-esteem, emotional balance, all come from this why am I here energy. With you, we touched on that with this innovator quality.
Okay.
And the perspective. And then there's one more that we haven't discussed yet. It's called your vitality, your vital body. This is the energy you project. Almost like your aura. It's like, what do you project to people? And people feel that energy from you. And it's also the energy in your house. So the vitality, or you could call it your breath body, is the energy in feng shui. And so that area of the consultation is always interesting, because then we discuss people's living arrangements and like the colors of their walls and the decorations, and does it really reflect their energy, and do they feel like it's giving them a boost, and their immune system a boost, and their vitality a boost, and their ability to be successful in the world a boost. So some of these areas are almost like you can't quite put your finger on them, right? Like a prana quality. But they're actually really important. So that's for stress reduction also, knowing your vitality planet. And then the last one I talk about at length is the physical body and how it goes out of balance. So how can you stay in balance? And also that's the same energy as the long-term relationships. Because remember how we looked at your sun as the short-term relationship energy? There's also a long-term relationship energy. When you're actually living with somebody, it changes, right? So that's fun to look at. So really, there's a basic paradigm. And then we have the initial consultation. And then after that, I meet with my clients, every few months or even once a year to see what their questions are and what the yantras are, they need to work with. And then I'll have that baseline of these 8 areas that I'll keep going back to. The thing that changes is the yantras. The thing that stays the same are these 8 areas, because these are these 8 areas of potential in the person's life.
Wonderful. Great. And so then you will give them the yantras to focus on and a mantra to go with that.
At the end of the consultation, we'll always same thing. We'll narrow it down to one yantra, which is really going to help them amplify their gift in that area of their life.
Great. Wonderful. It's a great process. And like I said, having the yantra to focus on with the mantra and setting that intention, I think keeps you on track a lot as well.
Yes, it does. And it's powerful. These are ancient practices. I didn't make them up, right? So it's just the way I use them is a little bit woven together through my own, process, but it's actually ancient, just like asana is ancient. People were doing headstands a long time ago. People were also working with yantras and mantras a long time ago. So they're very proven remedies. It's just the skill to diagnose and to help people with them, treat people, you could say, has just been forgotten. So I feel like, we're starting to wake it up again. And just through people like you with your innovative spirit, we're bringing them back into society so that they can be helpful tools for people.
Beautiful. Great. Well, yeah, it's definitely helped me on in my journey. And so you said there's an overruling kind of archetypal planet, correct?
Yes.
And so in regards to Ayurveda, does that archetypal planet overrule the dosha types? How does that work?
Well, it kind of breaks it down further, meaning oftentimes in Ayurveda, we might say somebody's a pitta or a kapha or a vata. It's sort of in their life, right? But here it gets very broken down. So somebody might be one doshic imbalance in their physical body. Mm-hmm. That's more the one that's like regular Ayurveda, how you might relate to it. And then we might say they have a different doshic imbalance in their emotional realm, a different doshic imbalance in their mental realm, right? So someone might come to me and they might be very agitated and it seems very vata, but it's actually coming from their mental stress area. So then I'll work with them in the mental stress area with vata soothing techniques, but it won't actually relate to diet. It'll be other techniques to calm their vata and their mind. But I'll go to the physical body and see what is their imbalance type in the physical body to work with their physical body. So it's sort of like, it gets broken down a little bit more, I guess. So it's not the main energy, it's the physical energy that really relates more to Ayurveda as we usually think of it.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. And so, but this overruling archetypal planet is consistently the same throughout our lives. Is that
yes,
correct?
yes.
Okay.
So it's more of a general personality type is the main one.
So interesting. And particularly, the fact that you're bringing the creative element into it, I think is very interesting as well. I think it's something I talk about a lot is bringing in that creativity into your life, and it not necessarily, people think creative energy, they think of art, but it could be anything, right? But that we're allowing ourselves the time in this hectic world to have that creative play that you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, the space.
Yeah.
Well, one thing I just wanted to tell you that your main energy, even though I'm not going to, because it really is a big moment to reveal, the main energy, but the main energy for you does come back to the physical.
Okay.
The physical body. Mm-hmm. So I would say for you having fun, definitely doing something through the physical will be part of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Like you're saying, the swimming and the...
Yeah. That's where I get a lot of... So I've been quite active and athletic in my past in particular, but that's where I get a lot of my creative ideas is when I'm exercising or in nature. Exercising, yeah, through
your physical body. Something about being really in the physical gives you the
exactly. Yeah, I've had lots of inspirational moments when swimming, running, biking, whatever. Yeah, it's true. Very true. Great. Well, Sarah, this is so interesting, and thank you for those insights today. It's really been, like I said, a great journey with Ganesha, and now I look forward to practicing my new mantra, and perhaps we can talk in a couple of months again and see the outcome and follow the journey. It's fun.
This process. I actually like doing this process slowly, like revealing a few of these areas at once. Really, we just talked about your creative play and your relating today. And I think it's good to do that. There's only so much you can digest, one time and explore. So thank you for being open to looking at this together. It's really been fun to do.
Oh yeah, it's my pleasure. It's very insightful, and like I said, it's been a real aid to me along the journey. And so, is there anything else about the process that you want to share that we haven't covered today?
I think we're good. I think what I'd like you to do also is notice where you're already doing the thing. Mm-hmm. So notice where you already are having fun, That's kind of like you somewhat starting to say now. And where you already feel like you're radiant with your friends, like notice where you're already doing that and how it feels like you, like really start to capture the moments to feel like you when you are playing and when you are out with people.
Okay, great. Good advice. And be aware of them, and that awareness will be like, I want more of this.
That's right. Yeah. The right, like it feels right. It's like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I got this part of myself that I only really feel when I hang out and do this. It's like, okay.
Right.
So now you've paid attention to that. Let's see where you can, naturally it'll start to show up more.
Right. Excellent. Yeah. Because if you take note of it in the moment, you feel it in your body, you're like bookmarking it, that feeling.
Yes. And it also means it's not just something strange that I'm prescribing to you. It's something that you already know, intrinsically.
Wonderful. Okay. Good homework. That's great. Sarah. What did you say? Sorry.
There's a lot of homework, really, right?
Yeah.
The mantras, the enjoying all that spaciousness.
But it's all fun, which is great. Great. And so certainly something I've been feeling has been lacking. So I'm ready for more creative play, which is great. Sarah, it's been a pleasure. Before we finish up, can you tell people where they can find out more about you? And I know you have a retreat coming up. And I believe it's with Malcolm that I did the Ganesha class with. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's true. We're doing a retreat in Portugal in June, 2nd to 10th, 2022. And we just opened the registration. And so I would encourage people to check it out and sign up soon if you want to come, because there's like limited room choices and it's going to be amazing. So it's going to be on the theme of the Gayatri, Yantra and Mantra, which is about bringing more light in. It's like the source of the sun, not the sun, but like the mother of the sun. So it'll be very powerful. And doing the Yantra, and it's a beautiful retreat center in Portugal. It's fairly near the coast. So like mini afternoons in the beach we'll be having. And fire rituals, and it's going to be great. So that, I would say go to my website and you'll see all the events. That's probably the most helpful. So sarahyantra.com, Sarah Yantra, one word. And then and then come for a consultation. I feel like the way you'll learn more about yantras is by starting to work with them. So I would encourage you to come for an initial consultation, and that's also on my website. So, and Instagram is the same, Sarah Yantra.
Great. That is Sarah with a H.
Yes.
Wonderful. Well, I will put that in the show notes, all that information. And so your retreat in Portugal, it will combine the yantras, talks and creative practice with the yantras, right? And yoga as well?
Yes. And I'll be teaching yoga every morning. Yes. Nice. Yoga. And there'll be lots of meditation, lots of fire ceremonies with mantras. I would say you're going to get pretty cooked in a good way. Right. It'll be pretty transformative. And I would think there'll be lots of mystical experiences happening on this retreat. I'm just going to say, because the power that Malcolm brings to these retreats mixed with, the joy of these things that I'm offering does create a space where people go quite deeply into this work, Tantra. Fantastic. So, if you're ready for sort of jumping in and getting a little bit more out of your spiritual practices, then this could be for you.
Wonderful. Okay, Sarah. Well, thank you so much. And I look forward to delving into my homework, and thank you for the insights today. And hopefully people found it beneficial. I think, anytime we can share new practices, I think everybody has their own way that resonates with them. But particularly, I'm very keen on promoting more creativity. And I think that's something that we all need more of in our world today. So this is going to be very beneficial, I think. Thank you, Sarah. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Colette.
I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Sarah, and please check out the show notes for the links to Sarah's website, where you can find out more about her events and offerings. If you think that this episode would be helpful to family or friends, please share it with them. And if you haven't already done so, please subscribe or follow the podcast wherever you listen to your podcasts, so that the new episodes would automatically download for you. And if you haven't rated and reviewed the podcast, I would appreciate it, because this will help more people to find the podcast, and we can spread this wisdom of Ayurveda. If you would like to continue the conversation and be part of a like-minded community, check out the Elements of Ayurveda community. That link is in the show notes also, along with the information on my next group, Digestive Reset Cleanse, starting January 21st, 2022, and all my other online consults and educational programs. Thanks for tuning in. Take good care of yourself, and until next time, be well. Slán go fóill. Bye for now.